Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Sunday, April the 24th. We once again do have a 4-game slate on Sunday, so a little bit more to talk about. As always, guys, we're going to go through each one of these 4 games, break down each team, give my early thoughts, what I do like, taking a first look at this slate on Saturday night. And then as we do go through each game, we will build out an early core. We'll talk about 5 players that do specifically stand out to me at first look on both DK and on Yahoo. But before we get started with the breakdown, please hit that like button down below, guys. Really appreciate the likes. Always appreciate you guys checking out these videos. Hit that subscribe button if you are new here. Also, go check out the sponsor of the video, Prize Picks. So Prize Picks, player prop based DFS site. I'm sure most of you guys have heard of Prize Picks already. If you have not heard of Prize Picks though, again, it's a player prop based site, so you're just picking the over or the under on players' projections. It is very simple, very easy to use. They do already have a lot of props up for Sunday's games. Pretty much like almost their entire board is posted for Sunday's games. They got a lot to choose from. You can take a look at their board, see some props that stand out to you. Obviously, you're just picking the over or the under. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money on Prize Picks. So definitely give them a try. Sign up. Use promo code NOAH. They will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And as always, I will share a couple of my favorite plays on Prize Picks for today. I'll probably upload a video, maybe an hour or two after this video goes up. I'll post my Prize Picks video, which is where I basically talk through some of my favorite Prize Picks plays for today's slate. You can check that video out if you are playing on Prize Picks already. But definitely sign up for Prize Picks. Use that promo code. Get that deposit bonus when you do sign up. But that's all that I got for Prize Picks. Let's go ahead and talk about this 4-game slate. We're going to start off with the first game, Milwaukee and Chicago. So these teams did play on Friday night, and it was a massive blowout. The Bulls lost by like 30. None of the starters played in the fourth quarter. So if you look at game logs from last game, I mean, obviously almost everyone was kind of underperformed because nobody played their full minutes. Giannis only played 29 minutes, wasn't super productive. I don't care. Like, I still think Giannis is a good pay-up option here. Now, I'll always say this, and it's kind of the same every slate. It's always tough to find value on these playoff slates just because, there's really, I mean, for the most part, nobody's going to be injured that's going to open up value. Obviously, Middleton's out right now, but the prices have somewhat adjusted for that. Devin Booker's out right now, but the prices have somewhat adjusted for that. There's never going to be, like, these cheap value plays that just project super well. So, on these playoff slates, I've been going more balanced, not trying to force in the studs. But obviously, Giannis is probably one of the best pay-up options here. It's definitely like 1A and 1B for him when it comes to like him versus Jokic, I would say. So no issues going to Giannis. Obviously, no Middleton is can't hurt him. If anything, it's a nice boost. I think Jrue Holiday gets a big boost without Middleton as well. I was pretty high on Jrue Holiday yesterday's slate on Friday, last game. And he was kind of disappointing. Obviously, no fourth quarter run for Jrue. He only played 30 minutes. He normally plays about 38 to 40 minutes. So he didn't get those 8 to 10 minutes that he normally plays in the fourth quarter. If he does play those 8 to 10 minutes in the fourth quarter, he probably goes for like 45, 48 DraftKings points. I think at 8,300, Drew's priced about right on this slate, but he does still stand out as a pretty good option because I think his upside without Middleton is definitely higher. He does see he does get the biggest boost in usage when you take Middleton off the floor this season. So I do like Jrue quite a bit. Bobby Portis surprisingly started last game. I was not expecting Bobby Portis to start. I thought they were going to start either Grayson Allen or Pat Connaughton, but they went with Bobby Portis, and he played really well. He was really productive, had 41 DraftKings points, only played 25 minutes. Obviously, if it was a close game, he probably would have played more than that, but he had 18 points and 16 rebounds in those 25 minutes, and we know Bobby Portis is a good point-per-minute player. He's not a guy that's just going to stand in the corner. I mean, he's going to be out there to grab rebounds. He can score. He's a high-usage player. At 6,200, like, I don't mind paying this price tag for Bobby Portis if he's going to continue to start and play, 30, 32 minutes. And I think if, that game would have stayed close, we probably would have gotten around 30 to 32 minutes from Bobby Portis. So I do like Bobby Portis today at 6,200. I think he does stand out as a pretty good option on DraftKings at 6.2. And I think on Yahoo, he looks like one of the better center plays over there. He's only $19 on Yahoo, so I do like him quite a bit on Yahoo today. This is all assuming he starts again. Given how well he played last game, I'd assume Portis is still in the starting lineup. And then Brook Lopez, he actually kind of gets a little bump down with Portis starting because Portis is a high-usage player. So Portis being in there, the more minutes that Lopez plays with Portis is just not good for Lopez's fantasy value and his fantasy upside. So I would definitely bump down Brook Lopez a little bit now that Portis is playing more minutes and starting alongside him. Lopez is obviously still playable, but doesn't stand out to me on the slate. And then for value, I do want to talk about Grayson Allen and Pat Connaughton. So both these guys should play extra minutes without Middleton. Grayson Allen played 25 minutes off the bench. He was really productive. He shot the ball really well, had 22 points, 6 rebounds, 36 Draftkings points. Pat Connaughton was solid as well. He played 21 minutes, had 22 DK points in that time. I think both these guys are in play for value. I expect them to probably get 25 to 28 minutes each. I think Connaughton has a chance to play maybe 30-plus minutes. I know Connaughton only played 21 last game, but again, like he got no fourth quarter run, so I'm kind of high on these value guys from Milwaukee. I think since Grayson Allen had the big game last game, maybe his ownership is a little bit higher today, which kind of makes me just prefer Connaughton. I mean, Connaughton and Allen are similar fantasy point per minute players. If anything, Connaughton's a little bit better on a point per minute basis. I think both these guys do get a little bit of a bump without Middleton. Obviously, there's more minutes available for both. Last game, Milwaukee, before the blowout, Milwaukee was pretty much running an 8-man rotation with the 5 starters plus Allen off the bench, Connaughton off the bench, and then Javon Carter. So you're going to see a tight rotation from Milwaukee if this game's close. You're going to get 25, 28 minutes from both Allen and Connaughton. I think both are in play. I do prefer Connaughton though, especially since he wasn't as good last game. I think Allen's ownership might be a little bit inflated today, and I'm not saying Allen's a bad play, but I just think since he had the big game last game, people might choose him over Connaughton. But between the two, I think it's really close. I would just rather play the one that's lower owned, and I think that will be Connaughton. So I do like Pat Connaughton for value. You can go to Grayson Allen too. But that's it for Milwaukee. Let's move on to Chicago now. And looking at the Bulls, you got DeRozan, Vooch, LaVine at the top, who continue to be very solid plays. I mean, obviously last game, all these guys were disappointing, but none of them played in the fourth quarter. DeRozan played 32 minutes. He's been playing like 42, 44 minutes so far in the playoffs. So I think if last game was close, DeRozan probably would have played like the entire fourth quarter, probably would have played 42 to 44 minutes. So I think if this game's close, it's just a 4.5 point spread. It should stay close. If it does, I think we get 40-plus minutes from DeMar DeRozan. I mean, he's been productive so far in the postseason outside of last game. Had that massive game in Game 2. He was decent in Game 1, even though he shot the ball pretty terribly. We know DeRozan's a high-usage player. We know he's going to produce when he's on the floor. He's going to play massive minutes. I think 8,500 is still a little bit too cheap for him, so I definitely am interested in DeRozan on this slate. And I think on Yahoo, he looks like a really good player over there, too. $36 on Yahoo, that's too cheap for DeRozan, in my opinion. He's for sure one of my favorite power forward plays on Yahoo. And then Vooch, I mean, he's been great in the series. 56 DK points in Game 1, 47 in Game 2. Last game only had 34, but again, he got no fourth quarter run. So I think Vooch's 7,900 is totally in play. He should get 36 to 40 minutes here. LaVine probably plays around 40 minutes. He played 31 last game. The 2 games before that, he played 43 and 37. And I think he was in foul trouble in Game 1. So I'm expecting about 40 minutes from Zach LaVine. At 7,400, he's been the most disappointing of the main Bulls guys. So I think maybe that keeps his ownership in check. He's not going to be super popular, I don't think. In tournaments, I'm fine going to Zach LaVine. I probably would max 2 of these 3 Bulls guys. Like between DeRozan, Vooch, and LaVine, I would probably only play at most 2 of those 3 in one lineup. Like I don't think I'd play all 3 in one lineup. But 2 of the 3 is fine. DeRozan's probably my favorite. Then you have Caruso at 5K, who's an okay value. I mean, he's going to probably play 35 to 40 minutes. I mean, Caruso's been getting good run. He's never been a great point per minute player, but he can do a little bit of everything, can score a little bit, can get some assists, he can get defensive stats as well. 5K feels like an appropriate price tag for Caruso, but he is in play just because he will get pretty good minutes. Patrick Williams probably plays, around 30 minutes. He played 30 last game, but I think he did get a little bit of run in the fourth quarter. He actually did play in the blowout. I think if it's a close game, we probably get about 30 minutes from Patrick Williams. 4,200 for him, like he's an okay value play too, but I'm really not super high on a ton of Bulls outside of the main guys, DeRozan, Vooch, and LaVine. So let's move on to the next game, talk about Golden State and Denver. So looking at Golden State today, you got Steph at the top, 8,700. I think Steph is a fine pay-up option here. His minutes are starting to trend back up, get back to normal. He played 31 minutes last game. He still did come off the bench last game. I don't know if he comes off the bench here or if they finally start him. We'll have to see. I think regardless, though, Steph should play around 30 minutes. He might play more if he starts. At 8,700, like that is a kind of a cheap price tag for Steph now that he's back to playing close to full minutes. The floor on Steph is always low because he's a very scoring-dependent player, and if he's not hitting shots, he can underperform. But that ceiling is definitely there, and now that the minutes are starting to trim back up for Steph, I think he is in play. Jordan Poole's been great in the starting lineup, but he's 8K now. Like I just can't pay 8K for Jordan Poole. I'd much rather just go up to Steph if I could get to him. Klay Thompson, I mean, he's been a tough guy to trust so far in the playoffs. He's just not been that productive. His minutes have still been really good. We obviously know Clay is a great scorer and can get hot anytime, but don't think he really stands out at 6,900. Really haven't been on Clay much so far in the postseason. Draymond is a guy that I have been interested in. I did play him in game 1 of this series. I'm pretty sure I played him game 2. And then last slate, I don't think he was in my lineup last slate, but I did take his over in fantasy points on Prize Picks, and he came up just short, unfortunately. But Draymond's been playing good minutes. He played 35 last game. It was finally a close game. You know, the first 2 games of the series were both blowouts, so they didn't really have to push Draymond. But last game was a close game, and Draymond played 35 minutes. So I think if this game's close, obviously Golden State, they want to just get the sweep here. They want to just end this series, get a lot of rest, get ready for the round 2. So I expect Golden State to really try and go out and win this game, just get the series over with. I think Draymond plays about 35, 36 minutes if it's a close game. He's a productive player on a point-per-minute basis. He does a little bit of everything when he's on the floor. The ceiling is definitely there. We know he has triple-double upside. So Draymond's in play for me. He might be my favorite play on Golden State if I had to play anyone here. Wiggins, he's okay, I guess. He's going to play like 30, 32 minutes. He's not a super high upside player, but he's playable. That's really it, though, for Golden State. There's nothing else that stands out here. So let's talk about Denver now. On Denver, you got Nikola Jokic at the top for 11-6. Like I said earlier, I think Jokic and Giannis are kind of like 1A, 1B for stud options for me. I give a slight lean to Jokic just because Jokic's massive usage that he's getting right now is hard to pass up on. Obviously, Giannis is going to get a ton of usage as well, but Jokic is literally the entire team for Denver. If Denver even wants to have a chance to win this game, like Jokic is going to have to just do everything like he did last game. 37 points, 18 rebounds, 5 assists, 73 Draftkings points. Denver's going to need Jokic to have another game similar to that. He might have to drop 40, 45 points for Denver to even have a chance because they're just not getting any other any production from anyone else. The entire offense runs through Jokic. I don't love the matchup against Golden State, but I just think Jokic's role is so good, and he's definitely one of the top pay-up options if you can fit him in. And the other Denver guys like Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, Monte Morris, I never get excited to roster these guys. It's a 4-game slate, so we have a little bit more options than we've had before. I'm not super high on Barton or Gordon or Morris, but Barton's 5,800. He probably plays like 35, 36 minutes. He's an okay option, but not a guy I'm really excited to roster. Aaron Gordon was pretty good last game, put up 42 DK points in 34 minutes. He's been he's been underperforming so far in the playoffs, but he did kind of turn things on last game, so maybe that's kind of a trend, in the right direction for Aaron Gordon. 5,600, I think he's priced about right, but he's playable. Monte Morris is playable. There's no standout plays from Denver outside of Jokic, but obviously Gordon, Barton, Morris, they're playable options. That's really it, though, from the Nuggets. I'm not considering anyone else on this team. So let's move on to the next game, talk about Miami and Atlanta. So looking at Miami today, once again, just a lot of questionable tags, which, does us nothing. Bam Adebayo has been questionable for both games, or last 2 games, and he's played both games. So I'm expecting Bam to play once again. I think Kyle Lowry, though, is actually kind of a true question mark. So Kyle Lowry did get injured in their last game and did not return. So obviously it's a pretty serious injury for Lowry if he was not able to return to the game last game. He also did not practice on Saturday, so I'm kind of leaning towards Lowry not playing today, which definitely could open up some value on Miami. Don't know who would start in place of Lowry. It probably would be Gabe Vincent, and Gabe Vincent's only 3,400. So if Lowry gets ruled out and Gabe Vincent starts, it's going to be hard to find guys this cheap that have, any sort of minutes upside. And I think if Gabe Vincent is starting, he probably plays like 30 minutes, and he's only 3,400. So he's actually going to be a really good value play today if Lowry does sit. I think Lowry does have a chance to sit, given, he didn't return last game. He missed practice Saturday. Kind of leaning towards him being out. If he's in, there's not a ton I love on Miami. Jimmy at 8,900, he's been great the last 2 games. He's been great so far in the playoffs. He's been playing huge minutes as well. He's had a massive role. Almost had a triple-double last game. The price tag feels about right for Jimmy, but he's playable. Still not one of my favorite pay-up options, though. Bam finally, kind of looked good last game. Had 40 DK points in 35 minutes. The price tag on Bam is really appealing. 7,100 is really cheap for Bam, and I mentioned that last slate. His price tag last slate was 7K. He did pretty well at his 7K price tag last slate. He played 35 minutes. I think if this game's close, we're getting about 35, 36 minutes from Bam. So 7,100, I actually do like Bam quite a bit. He might be my favorite play on Miami right now. But if Kyle Lowry does get ruled out, then I would have a lot of interest in Gabe Vincent. If he starts, they could slide Jimmy to point guard and just start like Duncan Robinson. That might be something they do. We'll have to pay attention to this Lowry news. Right now, him being questionable is one of the big kind of key things to watch for the slate. I think the rest of these guys, though, Bam, Tucker, Vincent, they're questionable too, but I expect all of them to play. Lowry's the one I'm not as sure on. But that's really it for Miami. Let's talk about Atlanta now. So looking at the Hawks here, I do want to mention that Clint Capella is questionable for Atlanta, so he obviously got injured. And I think in the play-in game, against Cleveland, wasn't able to come back. He's missed every game so far in the series, but they're listing him as questionable for today. So I think Clint Capella somewhat has a chance to return. It's just kind of to be determined right now. We don't have any word on if Clint Capella does play today, if he's going to be limited. We don't really know. Worth noting, though, Clint Capella is only 5,900. I mean, I know the matchup against Miami is not ideal, but Capella was a guy that we were paying almost $7K for before he got injured. Now his price tag's dropped way down, I guess just because he got injured. If he's full go, if he can play his full minutes, I have a lot of interest in Clint Capella. He probably would be my favorite play on Atlanta. Trae Young's always viable, but he's been pretty underperforming, or he's been underwhelming so far in the series. Last 2 games, 39, 42 DK points. He was terrible in game 1. Miami's done a really good job just kind of keeping Trae in check. Trae was able to come through in the fourth quarter, hit that game-winning shot, but he's not really had a big ceiling game yet. I mean, obviously Trae can put up a huge game any night, but this is just not the most ideal matchup for Trae, and Miami's done a good job slowing him down. So I'm not super high on Trae. Bogdan did have a great game last game off the bench. He's had 2 back-to-back really good games, 40 and 44 DK points. Minutes have been solid. Bogdan is one of these guys that coming off the bench can produce at a high rate. He can score, he can rebound, he can get assists, he can just do everything. Minutes should be pretty solid as well. He should play about 30 minutes. Price tag came up a little bit, but I still think Bogdan is in play today, especially with how well he's been playing. It's good to see him, playing well right now. John Collins, I mean, I was pretty high on John Collins last slate, starting at center, and he was just terrible. Played 24 minutes, didn't even close, only had 15 Draftkings points. Especially if Clint Capella returns today, I have zero interest in John Collins. If Clint Capella remains out and Collins starts at center again, there's some interest, but it's obviously concerning that he didn't even close last game. They actually closed with Okongwu over Capella or over Collins. Okongwu played 24 minutes. He just looked better, so don't really know what to do with the center situation right now. The front court is kind of a wait and see when it comes to Collins, Capella. Just kind of a wait and see there. We got to wait and see if Capella's actually in. Herter, Hunter, Gallo. I mean, we say the same thing about these guys every video. I mean, Herter probably plays mid-30s minutes. He doesn't offer a ton of upside, but he's only 5,100, and he probably plays 34, 35 minutes, so he's playable. DeAndre Hunter doesn't offer a ton of upside, but he's 4,600 and probably plays 34, 35 minutes, so he's playable. Gallo's minutes have not been super high lately. He only played 22 in game 2. He only played 25 last game. His minutes have kind of been trending down, and especially if Capella returns today, I pretty much have zero interest in Gallo, because now that Capella and Collins are healthy, that really kind of caps the minutes for Gallo. But Hunter and Herter are playable just because I do expect both those guys to play 30-plus minutes if the game's close and they're not in foul trouble. And I guess we'll mention DeLon Wright. So DeLon Wright was really cheap last slate. He was a pretty popular value play. He's actually been playing well. He's been getting good minutes. Last 2 games, he's played 29 and 30 minutes off the bench. DeLon Wright's never been a great point-per-minute player when he's playing alongside Trae and Bogdan, all these other high-usage guys. DeLon Wright can produce when he's kind of the primary point guard, but whenever he's playing off-ball, he's really just out there for defense. So I do kind of question the upside on DeLon Wright, but this is kind of similar to the Gabe Vincent thing we talked about earlier. It's hard to find guys this cheap that are going to play 25, 30 minutes, and I think we're going to get 25, 30 minutes from DeLon Wright once again. 3,800, he'll probably be really popular. He's a guy that I'm kind of okay fading in GPPs, but he's definitely in play for value. Again, it's hard to find guys this cheap, under 4K, that are in play, and I think DeLon Wright is in play today. But that's it for Atlanta. Let's go ahead and move on to the last game of the night, the Suns and the Pelicans. So looking at Phoenix today, obviously still without Devin Booker. Chris Paul had a huge game last game, with Booker out, played 40 minutes just to put the team on his back in the fourth quarter, finished with 58 Draftkings points, had 28 points, 4 rebounds, 14 assists. He really turned it on in the fourth quarter. I mean, CP3 didn't have that great of a game to start off with. I think he had 7 points, maybe 8 assists, and a rebound at halftime. He had 20 Draftkings points at halftime, but he just went nuts in the fourth quarter. I think he scored almost 20 points in the fourth quarter. Look, Chris Paul, I think he's just going to have a massive role while Devin Booker's out. He's going to have to play huge minutes. They need him to do everything right now. And obviously, Chris Paul's got a guy that has shown when he gets the opportunity, he can produce at a high rate. So 9,300, I know the price tag's starting to really get up there, but I think Chris Paul's worth this price tag. I think his role without Devin Booker is just going to be so good. We obviously know the assists are going to be there. His scoring opportunities should be way up. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has a repeat performance to what he did last game. So I do like Chris Paul quite a bit today. Going right back to him, I think he's a really good play once again on this slate. And then, the rest of the Phoenix guys, like DeAndre Ayton, he had a really good game last game. He's benefited without Booker. I know he's had some good games in the past whenever Booker's missed. They kind of use him more offensively. He took 20 shots last game. So, maybe without Booker, we see Ayton have some big games moving forward. Obviously, the price tag coming up to 8,100 doesn't make him look like a standout play today, especially if, he's going to get some increased ownership after a big game. But I think we are going to see Ayton start to play really well without Booker. I think he's going to be way more aggressive offensively. We might see some big games from Ayton moving forward. Just don't know on this slate if he's a guy that I'm really jamming in my lineups. Mikal Bridges, he's going to play like 40 minutes. He's not a great point per minute player, but he's 6K and probably plays 40 minutes. So Mikal Bridges is playable. I do want to mention Cam Johnson as a value play because I was pretty high on Cam Johnson last slate. The minutes were not as high as I thought they would be. He did start last game, but he did get into foul trouble. He only played 10 minutes in the first half, but he played 27 for the game, and that was with him, losing minutes due to foul trouble. He also didn't start the second half last game. They went with Landry Shamet over Cam Johnson in the second half. So I don't know what they're going to do with the starting lineup today. I guess they could start Shamet over Johnson like they did in the second half of the last game. But given that Cam Johnson started the game last game, I think he probably starts again. If he does start again, for 4,900, he's going to be someone I look to for value. I know he was not that productive last game. He was very disappointing. But we've seen Cam Johnson be able to produce when he gets minutes. He's a really good scorer. He's a really good three-point shooter. He can rebound as well. He probably plays about 30, 35 minutes if I had to guess. If he starts, if he comes off the bench, maybe he plays like 25, 30. But 4,900 is still too cheap for Cam Johnson, especially with the increase in usage there is available right now without Devin Booker. Cam Johnson is one of these guys that can give them some scoring, and they need it right now without Devin Booker. So I do like Cam Johnson once again for value. Don't care that he busted last slate. I think he's a good value play once again. And then I do want to mention Jay Crowder just because he probably plays 34, 35 minutes, and he's fairly cheap. Jay Crowder's another one of these guys that doesn't offer a ton of upside, but he's 4,700 and he's going to play like mid-30s minutes. So he's a playable value. And that's really it from Phoenix. I'm not seeing anything else I like here. I guess Shamet will mention just because if he does start, he could be playable. But he's a very low-usage player. He's a guy that has to hit his shots to put up a big game. Last game, he played 30 minutes off the bench and literally scored 12 Draftkings points. Would feel a little bit better about him if he starts, but I'm not really that high on Landry Shamet. So let's move on to the other side of this game, talk about the Pelicans real quick before we end the video. So look at the Pelicans, you got Ingram and McCollum at the top. Both are obviously solid options here. Both are just playing absurd minutes right now. 37 minutes last game for Brandon Ingram, 48 DK points. Matchup not ideal against Phoenix. He's going to see probably a lot of Mikal Bridges, might see some Jay Crowder. Both those guys are really good defenders, but Ingram's just going to have a massive role, and the minutes are going to be huge, so he's obviously playable. CJ McCollum at 8,400 I like quite a bit too. He played 41 minutes last game, had 52 DK points. He's just been super, super solid in the playoffs. 48, 50, and 52 DK points through the first 3 games, and he's played at least 40 minutes in all 3 of those games as well. So I'm thinking we're getting like 40 minutes a night from CJ McCollum right now. Him and Ingram are closely priced. I give a slight edge to McCollum if I had to pick one of the two, but I think both are in play today. Jonas Valanciunas is someone I'm kind of interested in tournaments. So his minutes the last 2 games have been way down. He played 26 and then 26 again. We've seen the Pelicans kind of go away from J-Val, play Larry Nance at the 5 some. Is this something that continues? I really don't know. Like, J-Val is one of these guys that we know can just dominate when he's out there, and we saw him do that in Game 1. He played 31 minutes in Game 1, had 54 DK points, had 18 points, 25 rebounds. Like, he's a really good point-per-minute player. He might play 25, 26 minutes again, but he could play 32, 33 minutes. And if you get 32, 33 minutes from J-Val, like, he's got 50-point upside when he plays, 30-plus minutes. So if you want to take a risk, take a shot on J-Val, take that risk, I'm fine with it. I think the upside's there, and especially if his ownership's going to be low, he is someone that I definitely would be interested in playing in tournaments. Obviously, there's some risk because his minutes have been trending down, but we don't really know if that continues. Like, he could play 32 minutes today, It's not a guarantee that he plays 26 again. And then the rest of the Pelicans, I guess the only other guy I'll mention is just Herb Jones. He's another guy that doesn't offer a ton of upside, but he's going to play huge minutes, 41 and 40 minutes last 2 games. He's really out there for defense, but if you need a value play this cheap, he's obviously a guy you can look to because he's just going to get a ton of minutes. He's definitely in play. But that's all I got for the Pelicans. I don't think anyone else stands out here. Some of these bench guys you can maybe take some shots on in GPPs, but probably not something I'm going to be doing. So that really wraps it up, guys. That wraps it up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, I appreciate you watching. Just make sure you hit that like button down below before you get out of here. Hit that subscribe button as well. Go check out PrizePicks. Once again, sponsor of the video. You can sign up for PrizePicks. Use my promo code Noah. They will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And you can take a look at PrizePicks board for Sunday's games. Make some picks for yourself. They have a lot of options up, a lot of props up right now. Again, you just pick the over or the under. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks. You can win up to 10 extra money on PrizePicks. Definitely give them a try. Sign up. Use code Noah. They'll match your first deposit up to $100 when you sign up with my promo code. But that's all that I got for today, guys. Wish you the best of luck on this Sunday slate. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it helped, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.